Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is October 27th. The Blue Jays take Game 1. The Dodgers take Game 2. The World Series rolls on. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? The World Series has been started. Games 1 and 2 have come and gone, and we're here to talk about both those games and take a look into the next couple. Game 3 tonight, Game 4 tomorrow, Game 5 on Wednesday. We'll talk about those and more. So, let's get going pretty much. I want to get started right away. There's plenty of baseball to talk about and plenty of, World Series stuff to get into. So, with that being said, let's take a look at Game 1. The World Series begins on Friday. Blake Snell on the mound for the Dodgers, while Trey Savage gets the nod for the Blue Jays. Hernandez scratched that to Hernandez's get it started. Kike drives in Teo in the top of the second for the first run of the series, a base hit from him. The Dodgers stayed on the attack in the third. Will Smith drives in Mookie Betts. It's 2-0 LA. But in the fourth, one swing gets the Jays back into this one as Varsho jumps a first pitch fastball 96 miles an hour down the plate. He hits one to dead center. A two-run shot ties this game up at 2. And from there, we have the sixth inning. And if you didn't know, this sixth inning was a very long sixth inning with Snell still out there. He walks Bo to lead off the sixth. Kirk with an RBI single. Whoa. Kirk with a single. And then with his 100th pitch of the night, Blake Snell hits Varsho to load the bases and nobody out. Out comes the Dodgers bullpen. Specifically, Emmett Sheehan is the first man out of that pen. He gives up a single to Ernie Clement because that's all Ernie does, man. He puts the ball in play. Then Nathan Lucas comes off the bench. He drives up the pitch count, a 9-pitch AB that ends with a walk to score a run. And then Jimenez comes through an RBI single. The Jays keep going station to station. They've gone 6 for 6 with getting runners on in this inning, and they've scored 3 runs with nobody out. Springer finally gets out. The first out's a fielder's choice play at home. Nice play by Mookie Betts. Kind of bobbled it at first, but stays with it to get Ernie out at the plate. And with the bases loaded, the Blue Jays go off the bench once more for Addison Barger. Roberts will counter with Anthony Banda for the lefty-lefty matchup, but it does not matter because it's the World Series, and it doesn't matter which button you press. In that situation, you could just feel it coming as Barger unloads and turns a 5-2 game into a 9-2 game, a massive pinch hit grand slam in his first ever World Series at bat. But don't worry, the inning isn't over there yet. Next batter, first pitch, Vladdy gets a base hit, and then a batter later, Alejandro Kirk, he pops another home run, this one to left field. The Blue Jays tackle on 9 runs in the 6th, and it's 11-2. Ohtani, he gets his 2-run homer in the next inning. That turns the 9-run lead into 7, but that's all the scoring in this one. The Jays win their first World Series game since Joe Carter's iconic walk-off home run to win the World Series for the Jays back in '93. The Jays go Yasavage to Fluharty to Dominguez to Fisher to Bassett to Lauer as they get the Game 1 win. The Blue Jays, a historic 6th inning. They sent up 12 batters in the inning, which was a new postseason record for them, for their franchise. They scored 9 runs in the inning, which is another postseason franchise record for the Jays. They had 6 hits in the inning, 3 walks/hit by pitches, and saw a total of 44 pitches from the Dodgers pitchers. An outstanding inning that kind of put a statement into this World Series saying, hey, if you think this is going to be easy for LA, guess again, because the Blue Jays offense is elite. They tied the third most runs in a World Series, only behind the 1968 Tigers and 1929 Philadelphia Athletics. Tied third most runs in a World Series innings, they got 10, the Tigers and Phillies did, and the Blue Jays obviously 9 runs in that sixth inning. Pretty impressive. Addison Barger, the first ever World Series pinch hit grand slam in MLB history. So that's what you think of there. The Blue Jays, they struck out 4 times in the game, while the Dodgers struck out 13 times. If you didn't think that was going to be a story, guess again. Blake Snell got all 4 strikeouts. The bullpen didn't get a single one. Trey Savage, he pitched an okay game, though. He got into some trouble, but kept getting out of it, which is kind of what you want from your starting pitcher. If they're going to get into some trouble, find ways to get out of it. Ends up going 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 5 Ks. So that is the line there for your Savage. Blake Snell's line on the other end, 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. Of course, those 5 runs, he left the bases loaded. When he left the bases loaded, he only had 2 runs given up. Ends up being 5 because the bullpen was a problem. And we'll obviously talk about the bullpen more and more. I kind of just want to talk about the bullpen. But I want to focus on the Dodgers offense a little bit as well, because the Dodgers had the bases loaded in the second after Tommy Edman got a single with 1 out in the inning. Pa has struck out on a 3-2 pitch that would have been ball 4 if he had not swung at a slider in the dirt from your Savage. They had the bases loaded with 2 outs. It's Shohei Ohtani coming up to the disc. Trey Savage gets him to ground out to Vladdy at first to end the inning. That would have been a big game-changing moment for sure. The Jays, they got to Snell in the first inning as well, kind of. He got them to throw up to 30 pitches in the first inning. The Blue Jays had the bases loaded, but did not score. So some opportunities missed from both sides of the game. You can't just point fingers at the Dodgers because the Blue Jays, but that's what they're going to do. They're going to work up a pitch count. They did it with Snell in the first inning, and that's how they got him out of the fifth inning, continuing to work up the pitch count, fouling off tough pitches, the 8 pitch at-bats. Those will matter in the longevity of a game. We talked about Bo Bichette being a factor in this series. He started the game at second base. I said, would it be shortstop? Would it be DH? Off the bench? Could it be second? It ends up being second base. And it was perfect for the Blue Jays. He made a really nice play up the middle with a strong throw to get out Teoscar. He came out early, though. He came out in that 6th inning. When that parade all started, he got the walk to Snell to lead off that inning. And then IKF came in to pinch run for him. So, maybe something with his leg, still his knee. Or it was just precautionary, gets a couple good at-bats, 1 for 2 with a walk. He was on base 2 times today. That's kind of what you want out of Bo Bichette in this series, to be a factor, to be a tough out, gets on base twice, makes a nice play at second, just as you rated up. Perfect stuff there from the Blue Jays. They were chanting, "We don't need you," to Ohtani during his last at-bat, so some fun stuff there for, a little bit of chirping with Ohtani. He appreciated it. So did his wife, apparently, said the news article that I saw just before recording this. And then Addison Barger, we talked about his grand slam. Apparently, the night before this World Series game, he slept on teammate Davis Schneider's pull-out couch. So naturally, of course, he then slept on it again for Game 2, which we'll get into shortly here. Last thing to touch upon for Game 1 would be the Dodgers bullpen that we thought would be a problem, and it was 100% an accurate problem. After Snell, they went to Sheehan, to Banda, to Wroblewski, to Klein. Those are the 4 pitchers that were used in this game after Snell. The 4 of them combined for 3 innings, 6 hits, 6 runs, a walk, and 2 homers. Didn't get a single strikeout. Plus, the 3 runners that were from Snell that was inherited onto them to get out of the inning, they let all those 3 runs score. So technically, they gave up 9 runs, but 3, of course, go to Snell. And to be fair, I'm saying all 4 of them, and I'm grouping them together. Take out Wroblewski and take out Klein, because they were pretty good, actually. 2 innings and 1 hit. towards the end of the game. They pitched the 8th and ninth innings. It's Sheehan and Benda that you got to look at on the other hand. They combined together for 1 inning, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, a walk, and 2 homers. Those two together. So Dodgers bullpen is a problem. We saw it on full display in game 1, and I think it's going to continue to be a problem in this series. We'll have to see what the Blue Jays can do going into now game 3 and going into LA. But we'll have to see what that all about. Just checking my notes here to see if I miss anything else that I want to talk about. Yes, I did actually. Blake Snell, he gave up a home run to Dalton Varsho. This at the time was 2-0 LA, made it 2-2, tied the game up. It was the first lefty-lefty home run that Snell had given up all year. The entire 2025, he had never given up a homer to a left-handed batter. It was the first one since, I believe, July of last year that he gave up a home run. It was like June or July, I feel like I saw a stat. I can't remember the exact month, but it's been all year, the first time all season, and it's in that moment to tie up game 1 of the World Series. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's why it doesn't matter. All of the numbers and all the stuff that you see before the World Series, it does not matter because now it's the World Series. Now it matters. These are the stats that continue and carry over. So, that was game 1. Let's get into game 2 now. It is Saturday, and it is time to see if the Blue Jays will take a 2-0 series lead into LA or if the Dodgers can tie it up. We've got Kevin Gausman and we've got Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We had a pitcher's duel in this game. Both pitchers were fantastic. Top of the first, Freeman, a double with 2 outs in the first. Will Smith comes through an RBI single. That gets the Dodgers a first inning run. They're up 1-0. The Blue Jays, though, began to threaten immediately in the bottom of the first. They had runners on the corners with a Springer double and a Lucas single, but no outs in the inning. This was an opportunity. Yamamoto gets out of it, gets a strikeout, a line out right to first base, and then another strikeout. 2 strikeouts from Yamamoto in the first inning, gets out of the jam. The Jays would eventually get that tying run in on a sac fly from Alejandro Kirk in the 3rd inning. It is 1 apiece. Meanwhile, Kevin Gausman found himself in a groove. He recorded 17 straight outs after that first inning single from Will Smith there. The Dodgers were up 1 at the time. Gausman had been in a groove until the 7th inning because Will Smith connects his first home run of the postseason, puts the Dodgers up 1, the first base runner since the first inning, 5 innings, from the first to the 7th inning. But they get to Gausman. A batter later, it's Max Muncy who joins him, another solo shot bomb. That would end Gausman's night, and it's 3-1 LA. They add 2 more in the 8th inning on a wild pitch with the bases loaded, and then Will Smith grounds out to bring in another run. Dodgers win it 5-1, and how about Yoshinobu Yamamoto? He gives up the single to Vlad in the 3rd inning, which then led Kirk to get the sac fly. That was the first out of 20 straight outs after that, leading to his 2nd straight complete game. He finishes the night 9 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts as the Dodgers get the win. That ties this series up as they head back home. What a game. I was at this game, and it was a really cool experience to be a part of this game. I was 20 feet away from David Ortiz and A-Rod and Derek Jeter with the Fox Sports booth. Saw the Jonas Brothers, which was, 20 feet away from me as well, which is pretty interesting. The stand up to cancer moment, always a great moment in the World Series that they do. So that was also really cool to be a part of. But to see a complete game, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, that was a crazy performance by him. What a job. He's the first pitcher to throw multiple complete games in the same postseason since Madison Bumgarner back in 2014. He's the first pitcher since Kurt Schilling in 2001 to throw back-to-back complete games. He did it against the Brewers as well. And then he's the first Dodger to do it in the World Series since Oral Hershiser back in 1988. What a performance from Yamamoto. Kevin Gausman, he was amazing as well. Gave up the 2 home runs in the 7th inning. Obviously out of steam at that point. 6 2/3, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, and 6 Ks. But before those home runs, 17 straight outs there. I believe I saw a stat that was saying Gausman and Yamamoto is the first ever pitchers duel to both have 17 straight outs, which is a cool thing for both of them to be a part of that kind of history. How about Will Smith in this game? Drives in the RBI single in the first, gets the go-ahead home run, which turns out to be the difference in this game, and then tallies on that 5th and final run in the 8th inning with the ground out. So 3 RBIs for Will Smith. Dodgers win that one 5-1. They lose the first one 11-4. I don't even know if I mentioned the score when I was talking about Game 1. But that's what Game 2 gets you. It gets you a big win for the Dodgers, and it kind of, mitigates the Dodgers bullpen problem. That's kind of the storyline takeaway here. Hard for the bullpen to blow a game when your starter pitcher goes 9 innings. I mean, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was just absolutely brilliant. Everything was working for him. A phenomenal game for him. 9 innings, the 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, and 1 run. 8 strikeouts against the Blue Jays. I don't know. I think that's the first time this postseason the Jays have struck out more than, 6 times in a game. So, I mean, Yamamoto did something that no one was able to do, the same way that the Blue Jays were able to do something against Blake Snell that nobody was able to do. So, it kind of goes both ways here, and that kind of leads into, my thoughts based off of the first 2 games, the first weekend here that we had with the series, is that, entering the series, it was, okay, Dodgers starting pitching, really good. Can they get the Blue Jays really good offense out? Blue Jays offense, very good. Can they get to the Dodgers starting pitching? That's been very good. That was the kind of main battle. We know that the Jays have good pitchers. We know that the Dodgers have a great offense. We haven't seen those two at its maximum potential during this postseason. The Dodgers offense has been kind of lackluster throughout the postseason. And the Blue Jays pitching, while they've been having some nice starts here and there, and the bullpens come out in some big situations, they've also, given up a couple of big moment home runs. The ones to Cal Raleigh, ones to Judge, so it hasn't been perfect for either side there. But the Jays offense has been very good the entire postseason. The Dodgers starting pitching has been phenomenal the entire postseason. So that was kind of the what to watch for when we entered the series. Game 1, the Blue Jays offense gets to the Dodgers starting pitcher, which ends up in the bullpen, which ends up to that 9-run inning. Game 2, it's the inverse. The Dodgers starting pitching shuts down the Blue Jays offense in a big way. They had 4 hits, all of which in the first 3 innings, mind you. You could look back in that bottom of that first from the Blue Jays. Springer a double, Lucas a single. You've got a huge chance with your guy, Vlad Guerrero Jr. at the plate. He ends up striking out. They get Kirk to line out to Freeman at first base. Runners can't advance, do anything there. I mean, heads up play by Lucas for getting back in time, because that could have been a double play. And then strikes out Varsho on a nasty curveball. Strikes him out looking even, didn't even swing the bat. And gets out of it, and that kind of set the tone as well. It was still a good inning for the Blue Jays at the time, though, because it's like, okay, we made him throw, 21 pitches in the inning, right? So you kind of felt good about it, but from that point on, it was kind of shut down. The Blue Jays were lucky to get the run that they did in the 3rd inning, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this was what we wanted to see, was the best versus the best. And the Blue Jays have the edge game 1. Dodgers have the edge game 2. So what's in store for game 3? If the starting pitching, we got Tyler Glasnow on the mound tonight. If he can go 6 innings, 7 innings, I think it favors the Dodgers. And I think that's what this series is going to continue to be like, is if how much of a lead can the Dodgers get to before the Blue Jays get to the bullpen. Because I don't think a guy like Glasnow can get you 9 innings. I think the bullpen is going to be used in this game, and I think even tomorrow and potentially, for Wednesday's game as well. You can't have a complete game every game going forward. That's the dream scenario for Dave Roberts, but I don't think it's possible. But if you can get, 6 runs in the first 6 innings already? If the Dodgers, if we go 6-0, right, and that's when Tyler Glasnow comes down the 6th inning, the Blue Jays have 9 outs, 3 innings to get 7 runs against the bullpen. That's a tough task. No matter how bad your bullpen is, that's a lot of runs in a short, span of time there. So that's going to be the story. If the Dodgers have 2 runs in the first 6 innings, I think the Blue Jays could score a run in an inning against a Dodgers bullpen where you only really trust Roki Sasaki. You don't really trust any of the guys there. So that's like the big still like storyline going through with this series here. We've seen that the Jays can get to a starter. We saw them get to Snell, but we also saw them, not get to Yamamoto. So what can you do now against Glasnow? He's a guy you've seen before, plenty of matchups when he was with the Rays before, getting traded to the Dodgers. And then you have to deal with Ohtani for Game 4 before getting back to Snell. We've got 3 games in LA coming up, and I said if the Dodgers can take 2 of 3, the series would be 3-2 LA, heading for Game 6 back in Toronto with Yamamoto on the mound. They will win that game, and Yamamoto will be the World Series MVP because he's going to end up going 7 or 8 innings. Maybe a third straight complete game for Yamamoto, and that would win him the MVP. That would win the Dodgers the World Series. If somehow the Blue Jays can win Game 6 against Yamamoto and push a Game 7, the Blue Jays will win Game 7, 100%. There's no way you'll beat Yamamoto and then lose in Game 7. The Blue Jays offense would roll past Yamamoto and then get Game 7. They would be the World Series champion in 7. Of course, we have to get to Game 6 and 7 first. We know we're guaranteed a Game 5. If one of these teams wins the next 3, then the series is over. The World Series is done in 5, and we're talking about the championship team on Friday. But we'll have to wait and see. That's what my thoughts are in the first 2 games here. The Dodgers, if they're 1 win away for Game 6 and Yamamoto's on the mound, he's been fantastic. He will continue to be fantastic. They will win that game. If the Blue Jays take 2 of 3 against LA at home here, I think the Blue Jays will win either Game 6 or Game 7. I generally think it comes down to who will win Game 6, unless one of these teams wins. If one of these teams gets a win in this series, if they both get a win, that means we have to play a Game 6. Whoever wins Game 6 wins the series. Either the Dodgers would win it and win the whole series, or the Blue Jays would win it, win the whole series, or they would win it, force the Game 7, and then win Game 7. If the Dodgers head into Toronto down 3-2, we'll just take 2 of 3 and we go to Game 6. Yamamoto will win Game 6. It'll be a Game 7. I think the Dodgers would have a chance to win Game 7 and win the World Series. But we'd have to wait and see. For now, we can only talk about what's ahead of us. And what is ahead of us is 3 games in LA. Games 3, 4, and 5 coming up tonight would be Game 3. Tyler Glasnow on the mound facing Max Scherzer, not Shane Bieber. It's Max Scherzer instead. Scherzer, when he makes the start, he will join Lonnie Smith as the only players to play in the World Series with 4 different teams. Of course, Scherzer's done it with the Nationals, the Dodgers, and the Rangers. He would then get the Blue Jays on that list as well. That is tonight for Game 3. Tomorrow, Game 4, Shane Bieber gets to start for Toronto. Shohei Ohtani is on the mound for LA. And then Game 5, maybe it's a 2-2 game, in which case that game is huge. Maybe it's a 3-1 series, in which case one team can win it in Game 5 on Wednesday. MLB has TBDs listed, but it will most likely be a rematch of Game 1, which will see Trey Savage versus Blake Snell. And if that's the case, Savage will be making his first road start of the postseason. All of his starts he's gotten to this point have been home starts. Home against the Yankees, home against the Mariners, home against the Mariners, home against the Dodgers. So this would be his first road start since his first 2 games of his MLB career, when he played in Tampa, or I guess at Steinbrenner Field there, and then in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City facing the Royals. But since that game, he has played every game at home against the Rays, and then the 4 games home in the postseason here. These could be the last 3 games of the season, we might not have a game 6 or a game 7. But if there's any chance of that, it'll be talked about, of course, on Friday. So there'll either be a winner or a very important game 6, which could lead to a do or die winner take all game 7. There's 5 days left of the season? 5 games? 6 days, 5 games? Is that what we're doing here? That's where we're at right now. Left of the 2025 World Series. Blue Jays have a win. Dodgers have a win. We're heading to LA. Last thing to mention, I guess, I'm not really going to throw this into anything else, but the Orioles, they hired Craig Albernaz as their new manager, apparently. Guardians' associate manager is now Baltimore's new manager. So there you go. That's the other news, I guess, the baseball news of the world. But yeah, that's gonna about wrap us up for the episode here today, ladies and gentlemen. We've done it. We have gotten to the World Series. We have gotten through games 1 and 2. Dodgers bullpen, that's an issue. Dodgers starting pitching, very good. What can the Jays do against Glasnow tonight? I think if they can do, depending on how well they do against Glasnow, how early they can get into that bullpen, this series starts to look a little bit different. Every time the Jays start a game, they have to get that starting pitcher out ASAP. If they want a chance to win the World Series. For the Dodgers, you got to get your starter to get you 7-8 innings. Because it looks like Roberts is afraid to go to that bullpen after game 1. He was fortunate enough to have Yoshinobu Yamamoto for game 2. He threw, I think, just over 100 pitches to get the complete game. So that's the storylines. That's what we've got going on. Ladies and gentlemen, game 3 tonight, game 4 tomorrow, game 5 on Wednesday. Will we have a champion for Friday, or will we have a game 6? Only time will tell. But I do love you all. I do appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you on Friday.